Well, if you're like me, you care about your car, but you're not the biggest fan of having to get work done on your car. This is where Roda comes in. Roda is a DMV-based auto shop that makes taking care of your car so easy, it feels like magic. Roda has a team of best-in-the-business technicians who can service any make and model across any maintenance or repairs and detailing. With over 1,000 Google reviews, Best Auto Shop on Yelp, and Nextdoor awards, your neighbors are loving Roda, and you will too. Roda is tremendous. You can book any car service online in under 3 minutes. Roda offers free towing or valet. Roda literally will pick up your car and bring it to the shop in Rockville, Maryland, service the car, and return it to you. Over 80% of Roda services are done on the same day on which they're booked. Roda offers price matching, honest flat pricing, and financing. Roda offers free inspections on your car and shares everything found via video and pictures. Drivers approve only what they want to. Visit Roda.com, that's RODA.com, and use the promo code GALDI20 for 20% off any service. That's Roda.com, promo code GALDI20 for 20% off any service. Hey, if you're like me, you don't exactly have a ton of time to shop for clothes. My wife is the same way, and she has introduced me to Stitch Fix. Stitch Fix is great. You just take a quick style quiz, share your size, your vibe, your budget, and boom, you're matched with a real human stylist who handles the rest. Stitch Fix sends you a fix box with clothes that actually fit and make sense for your life, work, weekends, whatever. Stitch Fix saves you time, you look great, and you don't even have to think about it. And Stitch Fix is no risk, all style. Try Stitch Fix clothes in the comfort of your home. Keep what works, send back the rest. Free shipping and returns always, and no subscription required. Plus, get a free try-on for your first fix. Get started today at StitchFix.com/podcast to get $20 off your first order, and Stitch Fix will waive your styling fee. That's StitchFix.com/podcast. And away we go, episode 1146 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025. Hope that you had a nice Labor Day weekend. Hope that you caught our conversation with Commanders insider John Keim of ESPN on Monday's show, episode 1145. As yes, there was a show for Monday, and hope that you are ready for this week. Week 1 of the NFL's 2025 regular season. Commanders versus the New York Giants at Northwest Stadium this Sunday afternoon at 1. The offseason is over. Training camps are over. The preseason is over. We have arrived at week 1 of the regular season. It feels good to say that, doesn't it? Hello and welcome to this Tuesday installment of the Al Galdi podcast. Next segment, a conversation with Pro Football Focus senior data analyst and Commanders fan Nick Akridge. This for a preview of the Commanders' 2025 regular season, including how to take the team in the NFL's 2025 preseason, going 0-3 with that league worst point differential of -71. What to expect from quarterback Jayden Daniels off his all-time great 2024 rookie season. 2 specific areas in which Daniels can and should be better. What to look for from Kliff Kingsbury in his second season as Commanders offensive coordinator, given the trade acquisitions of left tackle Laremy Tunsil and receiver Deebo Samuel Sr. Analysis of the Commanders' defensive line and secondary. A potential surprise team in the NFC East. The truth about PFF grading and more. PFF's Nick Akridge. Next segment on the Commanders, and also on the show, we'll talk Nationals and Orioles. The Nats' 8-game losing streak mercifully is over. A 2-0 win over the Miami Marlins at Nationals Park on Labor Day Monday afternoon. Thank goodness. Nats starting pitcher Andrew Alvarez. He in his MLB regular season debut tossed 5 scoreless innings. The O's won for just the third time in 12 games, a 4-3 win at the San Diego Padres on Monday evening. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Email from Dave in Israel on Jayden Daniels, writes Dave. Al, a year into the JD5 experience, I'm surprised that we don't speak more about the VR technology that he uses. I know that you've brought this up on many occasions and have even done some segments on this, but it's really not talked about a lot. Maybe it's better just not to talk about this, because at some point, and I assume this will not be long, we're going to see a lot more quarterbacks as well as players across all positions positions using VR. It's so clear when I watch Daniels play that he sees the field like a video game. He never gets flustered and never looks confused. He came into the league and the game had already slowed down for him because he had already played the game so much. Even between plays, he looks and feels like he's in a video game. Barring injury, I don't see much change of a sophomore slump with JD5. In fact, I'll be surprised if we don't see a significant improvement from year one. And don't forget, as JD5 gets better, VR also is getting better, meaning the benefits provided to him are likely increasing as well. Not only do we have the competitive advantage of an elite quarterback on a rookie deal, we have the competitive advantage of having the only player in the league using VR. I'm thinking in 5 years, we're going to look back and wonder how it was possible that only one guy was using this stuff, but let's let this ride as long as we can. Hashtag HTTR. Thank you for the email, Dave. I do wonder if Jayden Daniels still is the only NFL quarterback using virtual reality technology, given how much that has helped him. Two of my most favorite conversations on this podcast have been with LSU Director of Performance Innovation Jack Marucci on episode 824 and LSU Performance Innovation and Analytics Assistant Mario Macaluso on episode 878. Marucci and Macaluso work very closely with Jayden Daniels at LSU, especially with the virtual reality technology that the Commanders brought on board. And by the way, Marucci and Macaluso also had a lot of terrific insight on the work ethic of Daniels. And I do think that the Commanders' partnership with this AI company could be a really big deal regarding the VR technology and who knows what else. The Commanders on August 20th announced a new name for their team facility in Ashburn, Virginia, BigBear.ai Performance Center at Commanders Park. The press release from the team announcing this called BigBear.ai, quote, a leading provider of mission-ready AI solutions for national security and critical infrastructure, end quote. Given the wide-open frontier that is artificial intelligence, that is AI, in all aspects of life, including the NFL, and given how the Commanders under managing partner Josh Harris are in on analytics and data in sports science, I very much think that the team having a big money partnership with a big-time AI company like BigBear.ai could prove to be a competitive advantage for the team. Maybe BigBear.ai comes up with the best possible VR technology tool for players. Maybe BigBear.ai comes up with AI technology that takes game preparation for the coaching staff to a whole new level. All kinds of possibilities here. I think people are sleeping on the Commanders' partnership with this AI company. This could be revolutionary. Email from Jerry Moore on the Nats and O's. Writes Jerry, Al, can't believe how bad the Nats and O's are right now. Thank you for the email, Jerry. I can't believe that either. You know, the hope was that the Nats this season finally would bust out of their rebuild. The O's for this season were viewed at the very least as a playoff contender, if not a World Series contender. And yet each team for MLB's 2025 regular season has the second worst record in the team's league. The Nats have the second worst record in the National League. The O's have the second worst record in the American League. There have been plenty of other seasons in which both the Nats and O's were bad, but this season to me is the worst season when you consider the expectation/hope with each team coming into the season. There is massive disappointment with each team's season, disappointment the likes of which we did not have with the previous seasons in which both teams were bad. It's funny, the Masson dispute finally ended, right? We this past March 3rd got the shocking announcement from the Nats and O's that the Masson dispute at last was over, and yet the two teams in perhaps their final season together on Masson have had painfully disappointing seasons. Let us hope that the Commanders do not have a disappointing 2025 season. If you are a Commanders fan and you are on Instagram, make sure that you're following WSH on the Daily. The handle is at WSH on the Daily. WSH on the Daily provides outstanding daily Commanders coverage. The page is updated every day, always has a great fresh look. WSH on the Daily just started in 2021 and yet has well over 42,000 followers. So you learn a lot by following WSH on the Daily. You are entertained quite a bit by following WSH on the Daily. If you're on Instagram, check out WSH on the Daily. The handle is at WSH on the Daily. And check out WSH on the Daily's online shop, WSH on the Daily thedaily.com. Some terrific gear, t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, hats, excellent materials, modern looks. So for smart, informative, fun, and engaging Commanders content, check out WSH on The Daily on Instagram. And for great merch, visit WSHonthedaily.com. Hey, please consider subscribing to the podcast if you're not already doing that. Subscribing to the podcast costs nothing. Make sure that you never miss an episode and helps out the podcast a lot. And if you're already subscribing, thank you. There was an episode of this podcast for Monday, for Labor Day, and we on that show, it was episode 1145, spoke with Commanders insider John Keim of ESPN for a preview of the team's 2025 regular season, which will begin with their game against the New York Giants at Northwest Stadium this Sunday afternoon at 1. Time now for another terrific guest to preview the Commanders' 2025 regular season. He is Pro Football Focus senior data analyst Nick Akridge. Nick has graded a number of Washington games in recent seasons, so when you hear about the PFF grades of Washington players, that often has been the work of Nick. Also, he is a Commanders fan. You could follow Nick on X at PFF_Nick Akridge, and Akridge is spelled Akridge. Nick, very nice to talk to you. Regarding the Commanders in the NFL's 2025 preseason, going 0-3 with an NFL worst point differential of -71. We get that the team played starters/key players so little in the preseason. The concern, and I do think that it's valid, is that the team's depth is an issue, and that issue was highlighted in the preseason. What is your take on the team's 2025 preseason?
I think there should be some concern with the depth, especially on the defensive side. I mean, I think we kind of all sort of knew that. They kind of pieced together the defense last year because of kind of the shortcomings of the previous regime, and they're kind of still piecing it together. But it takes time to build up depth from a team that was picking second overall for a reason just a couple years ago. So there was kind of always going to be depth problems, and that's kind of why going into the season, injuries and potential injuries can be really catastrophic for this sort of team, because we just kind of saw that the depth really isn't there yet. They're obviously trying, but like I said, it's going to take some time to build up that depth.
You have been good enough to be coming on this podcast since year one, 2021. I remember speaking with you on the radio all the way back in December 2020. We, over the years, have had so many conversations about so many Washington quarterbacks who ended up not lasting for whatever reasons. Alex Smith, Taylor Heineke, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Carson Wentz, Sam Howell. It is so nice for our team to finally have a true answer at quarterback in Jayden Daniels. What are your expectations for him in the 2025 season off his all-time great 2024 rookie season?
Yeah, my expectations are, as crazy as it sounds, is to just get better. I think people are going to kind of take this year, and if he kind of does something similar in terms of, his stats and his grades and stuff like that and how he performs, that might seem as, kind of regressing a little bit. But he was so good last year and one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL that him producing at that level again is just another successful season to me. But honestly, I think he takes that next step forward. I kind of love that he, recognized some of the stuff that he struggled with a little bit, which was not much last year. Some of the accuracy stuff that he talked about. And I think he just takes that next step.
You wrote a really good PFF.com piece that came out on July 14th. Headline, quote, Jayden Daniels' rookie season, breaking down the highs and lows, end quote. There, of course, were very few lows for Daniels last season, but you did highlight two areas in which he can be better. One is fall-off throws. You wrote, quote, Daniels showed a tendency to fall off on some throws, particularly when defenders closed in. His adjusted completion percentage dropped to 63.1% under pressure, 25th in the NFL, end quote. Expound on that, if you would.
Yeah, so one thing that I noticed, again, when looking at the highs and lows, and when I wrote this article, I kind of prefaced it with the lows for Jayden Daniels last year were me being very nitpicky. Like, you have to kind of really look at some of the minor details to try to find some of the lows. And this is one of the things I saw, under pressure, he just kind of sort of fell off throws a little bit, which kind of means that he's throwing off his back foot, not really stepping into throws. And that just kind of led to some inaccuracy. Like I said, he kind of already talked about his inaccuracies as something he wanted to fix, but this is just kind of an area that again, I'm being nitpicky, but I would like for him to step into throws a little bit. It's easier for me to say when I don't have a 300-pound lineman running at my face. But it's just kind of an area that I'm looking at for him to improve because yeah, there were some other plays that he kind of just left on the table there that he could have taken if he just kind of steps into the throw a little bit. He got away with it at times. Sometimes he can get away with kind of throwing off his back foot in these little fall off throws when they're kind of short yardage throws. But just an area that I'd like to see him take kind of that next step.
Another area in which Jayden Daniels can be even better, per your PFF.com piece, is deep accuracy. You wrote, quote, his 88.2 deep passing grade, throws of 20-plus yards, ranked 17th in the NFL, and his adjusted completion percentage on those attempts was just 38.6%, placing him 27th. It's almost hard to imagine, but the Commanders' offense could have been even more explosive last season had more of those opportunities connected. Cleaning up this aspect of his game could elevate Daniels and Washington's offense to an entirely new level in 2025, end quote. Do you expect more deep ball opportunities to connect for Daniels in the 2025 regular season?
Yeah, I do. I really do. I think there were some. It was so frustrating to kind of watch back some of those moments where he's just missing these again, not easy throws, but these kind of deeper throws where people have steps on the defender and again, it just could have taken this offense to even greater heights if he makes those sort of throws. So yeah, his first rookie season, his deep passing was something he excelled at in college. So for me, I kind of see this as more of just kind of a blip and not something that I'm overly concerned with, I would say right now. So I definitely see this as something that's hopefully improving.
Deep ball stats for quarterbacks tend to fluctuate season to season. Is deep passing a skill, or is it more a random, volatile, year-to-year thing?
Yeah, I think it can be a skill. There are certain guys that do it really well. Russell Wilson, even throughout his past couple of years where he's kind of not really been the same Russell Wilson, he's still the best deep ball thrower in the NFL. His patented moon ball that he has is one of the greatest deep balls that I've ever seen. And he consistently has it. So there's definitely a skill for some of these guys that have this sort of thing. But it definitely can fluctuate because, a lot of times these deep accuracy, it's really tough to put a perfect number on it and say, this is inaccurate, this is accurate, because a lot of times the wide receivers are adjusting to how the ball is kind of in the air. And the better the wide receivers are, sometimes the better that accuracy looks. It's kind of the best way that I look at this is when I'm looking at deep throws, are you just underthrowing or overthrowing them wildly? That's kind of my biggest concern. Not necessarily with Jayden, but when I'm looking at this overall, some of the ones that are a little in front, a little behind, that's kind of more up to the wide receiver being able to track the ball better. But it's those ones that, that are just kind of completely overthrown or completely underthrown, are some of the ones that's when it becomes kind of a skill thing that you can look at. But a lot of times these deep throws are a lot of just how good a wide receiver can track a ball.
What do you want to see from Kliff Kingsbury in his second season as Commanders' offensive coordinator, especially off the March trade acquisitions of left tackle Laremy Tunsil and receiver Deebo Samuel Sr.?
Yeah, I mean, more of the same. I think adding Deebo gives you somebody that you can put in a ton of different positions, and I'm just really excited to see how he utilizes him, whether that be in the backfield, out wide, in the slot, getting quick, easy touches for him to just kind of essentially be a bona fide another running back on the field for him. That's kind of what I'm most excited about there. But really, with the Laremy Tunsil trade, I think it can take this offense to the next level because last year Kliff had to keep his tight ends, running backs, and wide receivers in to chip the edge rushers almost every single time that it was a kind of a passing situation. He's always going to keep a wide receiver close, a tight end close to chip the edge rusher to help his left and right tackle. When you have Laremy Tunsil right now, you don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to chip that left or that right edge rusher for Laremy Tunsil. He can handle it on his own. That gives you more opportunities to kind of get guys out on routes quicker, better passing concepts, more complex passing concepts. It gives you an opportunity, again, to kind of slide help away from that left side because, again, you have Laremy Tunsil. You can trust him in pass pro and help some of the other guys on the right side. So I think, again, it opens up this offense even more, and I think it's just going to put them in a much better position to, again, score more points.
Which of the three offensive players who the Commanders took in the 2025 NFL Draft will be most impactful in the 2025 season? Right tackle Josh Connerly Jr., receiver Jalen Lane, or running back Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt?
Maybe a month or so ago, I would have said Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, but now it kind of seems like that's kind of the easy choice. I would say Connerly. I was pretty impressed with what I saw from him in the preseason. Someone who did not play right tackle, but kind of looked like there were some moments where you could kind of see that this is a new position for him, but you can't really teach his athleticism and the way he can kind of climb to the second level. He's just so fast off the line of scrimmage. So that's someone that I can kind of see as kind of a big impact. And again, sort of the Laremy Tunsil thing where you kind of get a better tackle situation and it helps everybody else a lot more.
What would surprise Nick Akridge more about the Commanders in the 2025 season? Their offense is just mediocre, or their defense is great?
I say the defense being great would surprise me more. I think that's kind of where my concern is. Kind of that the defensive line is really my big concern. I think the secondary is greatly improved. But I think the defense being great is something that I would kind of be shocked by. Because again, we kind of touched on it earlier. You have to kind of rely on guys staying healthy the entire year, which is always tough to do. And we see what kind of happens if, some of their backups have to come in and play more snaps than what you would want. So the defense being great would surprise me.
Much more with Nick Akridge in moments. Here is an outstanding new book for you if you're a Washington fan or for a Washington fan who you care about. RFK All Access by Scott Cunningham. Scott served as a photographer for NFL properties for years. He photographed the Redskins extensively during their glory days in the 1980s and early 1990s. Scott, via RFK All Access, has put together a compilation of his best Redskins photos, many of which are behind-the-scenes photos. Joe Gibbs, Jack Kent Cooke, Richie Pettibone, the Hogs, the Posse, Sonny, Sam, and Frank, all and so many more are featured in this book, which is 392 pages of glorious Skins history, 5 pounds of Redskins gold. If you are a serious Washington fan, if you are a Skins historian, this book is a must-have. Makes for a terrific edition. Tenny Skins-themed man cave. Also makes for a great gift. Heck, this is a book that has been endorsed by Joe Gibbs himself. Quote, "This is a great book filled with great memories," end quote. RFK All Access. You could get the book by visiting rfkallaccess.com and use the promo code ONLYAL for a special discount. That's rfkallaccess.com, promo code ONLYAL for a special discount. We're previewing the Commanders' 2025 regular season with Pro Football Focus senior data analyst and Commanders fan Nick Akridge. A lot of change for the Commanders' defensive line since the end of last season. What do you make of what the team has done with its defensive line?
Yeah, I would say that this is probably the area where I'm most kind of concerned with what their plan was this offseason. I think the biggest key, what they kind of kept talking about, is they wanted to get better in run defense and stop the run because of what the Eagles did to them. And while I'm never a huge fan of kind of going all in on one part of the, stopping the run or just always getting after the passer because of one team, it is something that they had to improve upon. I just don't agree with the way they've gone about it. I've kind of been pretty open with the Kinlaw signing. I was not a huge fan of that. I would love to be wrong about that. I think we've kind of seen over these past couple of years, obviously a former first round pick, incredibly huge human being, very talented, but it just hasn't really translated to performance on the field. That's shown up in our grades. I rewatched all of them. I agree exactly with what we've put down. And I think that is kind of my biggest thing. And I'm interested to see what they do with him, how they kind of change fronts, where they put him. Deron Payne, I've kind of always been up and down on. He's had some moments. He can be very disruptive. He just doesn't always finish plays the way I would like. A lot of missed tackles. He's led the league in missed tackles from interior defensive linemen. I think it was 2 years ago, and he was up there again last year. Johnny Newton was someone I was really high on coming out of the draft. I thought that was a great pick. He was a little bit disappointing last season. He dealt with some injuries, so that could be kind of the reason there. Had a little bit of a disappointing preseason, limited snaps for him, but a little bit disappointing there. So I think that's kind of my biggest concern. And honestly, someone that I thought was probably their second or third best defensive tackle last year. Sheldon Day was cut, obviously kind of re-signed to the practice squad, but he was someone who played the best defensive line out of anyone last year. And again, in the preseason, I thought he was great. So that was kind of shocking to me. And keeping someone like Eddie Goldman, who really, really struggled in the preseason, I believe we gave him... he has a 32.1 overall grade in 66 snaps in the preseason. That's bad. I mean, I know a lot of people kind of, are concerned with some PFF grades, don't believe it all. Usually our best grades and our lowest grades are pretty accurate. We're usually pretty spot on with saying someone is playing really poor or really great. So that's kind of my biggest concern, is that interior defensive lineman stopping the run is definitely where I'm most afraid of.
You did express optimism with the Commanders secondary. What do you like about that?
Yeah, I think hopefully it all kind of hinges on a healthy Marshawn Lattimore and kind of not returning to, kind of form he was 3, 4, 5 years ago with the Saints, but just, again, being a solid corner, staying on the field, I think is the biggest thing for him. That opens up a lot in the secondary. I love the Trey Amos pick. I thought I would have been happy with him being the first round pick. I think that's how good he is. Very limited snaps in the preseason, which is kind of telling me that they trust him out there. They don't need to see anything, but he was good in the preseason, which just gives you the opportunity to move Sanders still back in the slot where he was very good last year. But it also gives you the opportunity that, hey, if Lattimore goes down again, you can trust Sanders still to play outside again. And you've got two guys outside that you can trust. So really kind of excited to see what those three corners do. And then at the safety position, I think they're in a pretty good position. I like the Will Harris signing. Didn't know much about him before I watched kind of his last couple seasons with the Saints. Pretty solid player. Excited to see what he does there. And then Quan Martin has always kind of been a steady safety. And I think that we've seen it kind of on social media. They talked about it a lot, him taking that next step. And I kind of do see that for him. I think he's just always been a very, very solid safety. And that's really all you want from that position. So yeah, I'm just kind of intrigued with what they do with that secondary.
The Commanders this past March signed safety Will Harris as an unrestricted free agent and allowed safety Jeremy Chinn to leave as an unrestricted free agent. The Commanders signed Harris to a reported 2-year, $8 million contract. Chinn signed with the Las Vegas Raiders via a reported 2-year, $16.258 million contract. Chinn did a lot of good things last season, drew a lot of praise, did not get that lucrative of a contract from the Raiders. Why do you think that the Commanders seemingly chose Harris over Chinn?
Yeah, I think that they saw this as an opportunity to, kind of get similar production at a cheaper value. I think Jeremy Chinn had some up and down moments, a lot of missed tackles for me. Just didn't seem like a very fluid athlete right now. And I think Will Harris can kind of come in and play that very similar position. And I think he can play it at a pretty high level. And then, Jeremy Chinn not really getting a lot of money on the open market kind of, doubles down on what they thought. So I think that was just kind of the plan there is get similar production for a little bit less value.
The NFC East, the consensus opinion is that the Commanders and Philadelphia Eagles are the two best teams in the division, but what is almost always the case in a season is that an NFC East team that was not supposed to be that good ends up being good, a la the Commanders last season. If I told you that either the Dallas Cowboys or New York Giants have a surprisingly good 2025 season, which team are you picking?
I would have said the Cowboys maybe a couple days ago before they decided to get rid of their best player and arguably one of the best edge rushers in the NFL. Very happy that they did that. So I would say the Giants. I think what they're doing on the defensive side, that defensive line is scary. Like, it's very, very scary. I would not sleep on them at all. And then I think if they can get competent quarterback play, which they've been looking for forever, I don't really see it with Russell Wilson. He's kind of, like I said, he's boomer bust. He's going to hit you with a bunch of deep balls, and there's going to be those 50-yard plays. But everything else is just kind of checkdowns. He doesn't operate over the middle of the field like almost at all anymore. Really, for him, it's boomer bust. He's going to check the ball down or he's going to go deep. So it can lead to some explosive plays. But I think that's the team that kind of scares you the most. I think the Giants' defense is going to be very, very good. It's just whether or not they can get kind of competent quarterback play.
The reigning, defending Super Bowl champion Eagles, is there reason to expect regression?
A little bit of regression. I think, Jalen Hurts kind of he's had moments. I know Jalen Hurts has been the talk of the offseason, basically, of where you rank him. He's a very solid quarterback, and he's going to have moments of really great play and some really poor play. And I think that comes down a little bit, but again, talent wise, they're stacked. I think they're the best team in the NFL by far. And it's just, again, it's going to come down to Hurts, whether or not you get more of the bad Hurts or the good Hurts. And I think they're still the cream of the NFL right now.
Billy Moy, head of analysis for Pro Football Focus, he wrote a PFF.com piece that came out on July 28th. Headline, quote, "From plus 2.0 to minus 2.0, understanding the backbone of PFF quarterback rating," end quote. As someone who grades NFL and college games, including a lot of Redskins / Washington football team / Commanders games, what are the biggest misconceptions about PFF grading?
I think the biggest thing that I kind of first have to tell people, and, every single year we get more and more people to understand what we're doing with the grades, and you can disagree with them once you understand it. But I think the biggest thing is just letting people know that this is never going to be a perfect science. And what we're doing is trying to give context to something that is subjective. And I know a lot of people use that word as, something that's a negative for PFF, but it 100% is subjective. It's just like anybody else reviewing film. It's our opinion. The thing that I love about it is it's never going to be just one person's opinion. Like, a grade is never going to be just my grade. It's going to come from somebody doing the live game, somebody reviewing it. And if there's kind of moments in between with the gray area, we have a group of people that come to one conclusion. So it's really an opinion of a group instead of, one person's opinion. It can be wrong at times, but I'll stack our grades up against anybody else. And I think it produces better. It gives you a better idea of what's happening on the field than your traditional box scores. I think people look at our grades sometimes and then try to compare them to box score statistics. And that's when you get a lot of, what is this? Why is this grade the way it is? And then when you kind of explain to people that we don't really care about the box score stats, like if you're telling me a quarterback went 15 for 20 for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, it doesn't really tell me anything. Like, I need to know how those 3 touchdowns came about. Is it a screen pass that the receiver ran for 30 yards? Is it a perfectly placed deep ball? That's kind of the difference there. Like, and the 0 interceptions, was that truly 0 interceptions, or did he get lucky and somebody dropped a pick? So those are the kind of things that I like to look at. And I think our turnover worthy plays is just such a great way to look at, who's getting lucky and who's not. I think Matt Stafford was one guy last year that got really, really lucky with some of his stuff. He was one of the top guys in turnover worthy play percentage. And just kind of got lucky with some of the stuff he did. That's not to say he's a great quarterback, but you could see some sort of regression there. I think that's kind of the biggest stuff that we're really looking at is, if you take our grades and put it up against box score statistics, it's going to look weird. Like, it just will every single time. And then when you kind of explain to them that we're grading, the film and what is actually happening on the field, it gets a lot more people to kind of realize, why our grades are the way they are.
The ultimate endorsement of Pro Football Focus to me is that every NFL team works with PFF in some way, right?
Every single NFL team. We have every single FBS college team. We have almost every single FCS college team right now. They're not always looking at our grades, but it is a place for them to look at, specifically in college, where it's so hard to watch all of these guys that are in the transfer portal. Getting a snapshot of what they do with the PFF grade is probably the best way for them to start. They're obviously going to do their own film research, but it's a good way to kind of start. And, if you're a person that is constantly watching film all the time and you have your own opinions, PFF grades are not for you. They're just not. It's for someone who, is watching games on a Sunday and is not going to then go back on a Monday and watch the all 22 and understand the X's and O's and the schematics of everything, and kind of gives you a snapshot of how someone really kind of performed. That's really who it's for. It's really never going to be for those guys that are doing their own film study. They're going to have their own opinions. Sometimes they agree with our grades. Sometimes they disagree a little bit. But yeah, I think, like you said, every NFL team having us as clients and every college team is enough of an endorsement for me.
That is the ultimate scoreboard. If every team in the NFL is using your product, then you're doing something right. And look, nobody is saying that Pro Football Focus grades are gospel, but they are useful, and the NFL agrees with that. Is there a realistic way by which PFF grading could be taken to an even higher level, or are we about at the limit of how good the grading can be?
think we're pretty close. The biggest thing that we would obviously wish for is game plans. Like if we could kind of get the game plan, and there's game plan adjustments for a lot of different things that they do. Maybe they're going to play a cover three a different way than they've played every week before, and that's not something that we're going to know, and that could change some grades and stuff. And we've had some back and forth, mostly with college coaches, on some grades that we are very willing to go back and change. But we are kind of making our best assumption based on the data that we have. One of the things that I kind of love to do is, you see a bust in the coverage, and you kind of have to try to piece it together, who's at fault. And the best way for us to do that is to go back through our years and years of data of this team and kind of see, okay, against this formation with this coverage, who's typically supposed to, take this route. We have all of that information in our hands. So really the biggest thing is just kind of being able to talk to these coaches and kind of get game plan, get their game plan. What were they trying to do? And that could definitely take it to the next level. But I don't think coaches will ever give us that sort of stuff.
Pro Football Focus senior data analyst and Commanders fan, Nick Akridge. Nick, thanks. All the best.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
All right, Catering by Uptown. It provides catering to perfection, whatever event you're planning, especially a wedding. Visit cateringbyuptown.com. Mention that Al Galdi sent you and see what Catering by Uptown can do for you. Catering by Uptown provides both great service and a great price. Catering by Uptown is a family business. It is run by the Pereiras, who are great Commanders fans and loyal supporters of this podcast. Catering by Uptown specializes in handling everything so that you don't have to. Catering by Uptown understands that special events deserve to be celebrated in style, and thus takes care of every detail so that you can enjoy your event. Great service, amazing cuisine, and reliability are the foundation of what makes Catering by Uptown one of the most referred caterers throughout Maryland, Washington, D.C., and Northern Virginia. And know this, if you visit cateringbyuptown.com and click on venues, you can set up your own personal tour of one of Catering by Uptown's premier venues, including outstanding waterfront venues. Catering by Uptown offers the ability to coordinate services at over 100 of the best reception halls, vineyards, farms, historic homes, event venues, banquet facilities, and wedding venues in the area. Visit cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. That's cateringbyuptown.com, and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. Hey, if you're like me, you don't exactly have a ton of time to shop for clothes. My wife is the same way, and she has introduced me to Stitch Fix. Stitch Fix is great. You just take a quick style quiz, share your size, your vibe, your budget, and boom, you're matched with a real human stylist who handles the rest. Stitch Fix sends you a fix box with clothes that actually fit and make sense for your life, work, weekends, whatever. Stitch Fix saves you time, you look great, and you don't even have to think about it. And Stitch Fix is no risk, all style. Try Stitch Fix clothes in the comfort of your home. Keep what works, send back the rest. Free shipping and returns always, and no subscription required. Plus, get a free try-on for your first fix. Get started today at stitchfix.com/podcast to get $20 off your first order, and Stitch Fix will waive your styling fee. That's stitchfix.com/podcast.
You just realized that you needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posts seen on other job sites. Indeed sponsored jobs help you stand out and hire fast. With sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates so you can reach the people that you want faster. And it makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Plus, with Indeed sponsored jobs, there's no monthly subscriptions, no long-term contracts, and you only pay for results. How fast is Indeed? Well, in the minute I've been talking to you, 23 hires were made on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/BWN. Just go to Indeed.com/BWN right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/BWN. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
At last it is over. At last it is done. The Nationals' 8-game losing streak is no more. A 2-0 win over the Miami Marlins at Nationals Park on Labor Day Monday afternoon in Game 1 of a 3-game series. The Nats in MLB's 2025 regular season now are 54-83. Worst record in the National League East, second worst record in the National League. The Nats now need to go at least 9-16 the rest of this regular season to avoid losing 100 games. But a feel-good day at Nationals Park on Monday afternoon. There have not been many feel-good days for the Nats this season, but a feel-good day at Nationals Park on Monday afternoon, and thanks in large part to Andrew Alvarez. The Nats on Monday morning announced having selected the contract of left-handed starting pitcher Andrew Alvarez from AAA Rochester. The Nats took Alvarez in the 12th round of the 2021 MLB draft out of California Polytechnic State University. Alvarez is not some highly touted prospect, but he was named the Nats 2023 Minor League Pitcher of the Year. And Alvarez, on Monday afternoon, in his MLB regular season debut, was very good. He tossed 5 scoreless innings with 4 strikeouts. He allowed just 1 hit, which was a single. He issued 2 walks. He did throw a lot of balls, 81 pitches, just 44 strikes versus 37 balls, but he was really effective, including beginning the outing by throwing 4 1/3 hitless innings. Andrew Alvarez became the first Nats pitcher to toss at least 5 scoreless innings in his MLB regular season debut since the franchise moved to Washington, D.C. in the 2004-2005 offseason. Way to go, Andrew Alvarez. He ended up being the stopper of the losing streak. Here was Nats interim manager Miguel Cairo during his post-game press conference on Monday afternoon on Andrew Alvarez, and then you'll hear multiple follow-up exchanges.
He was very composed. He was throwing strike. That's something that we love. Mixing his pitches really good. And, Stubby, they know each other. They know what he knows what he like to throw. And, they follow the plan that they had. And they did a really good job.
Could you tell what that start meant to him, given how long he's been playing?
I think it meant I was having chills. Because I was excited for them. That's the first time that they're in the big leagues. One was catching, the other was pitching, and it was, every time that you go out there and you made it to the big league, it's like the hard work that they did in the minor leagues, and come here and pitch like that and catch like that. It's an awesome feeling for us as a player, as a human being. But it was awesome to see that, that they performed the way they did.
How much temptation was there to leave Alvarez in a little longer?
Like in the last inning, the way the first 4 innings, it was like he was good. In the fifth, it was a little harder, and the top of the lineup was coming up, and I didn't want to take any chance. But he was dealing. He was throwing strike. He was mixing his pitches, and. But you wanna come out on top, and that's what we decided. He and myself, he got the lead, and he did his job, and that was awesome to see the composure, no nerve, and he was making his pitches.
What was he like between innings? Just normal?
It's normal. He said. I was proud to see that. Like they were like under control. They knew, what they were doing, and it was nice to see it. Stop. His brother said, he knows what he's doing behind the plate, and like his brother is, playing the big leagues, and he knows how to catch and call the game, and he was in composed, and he was good.
All right, and did you catch that from Miguel Cairo? He was having chills off what went down.
I was having chills.
Yeah, Miguel Cairo was having chills. The MLB regular season debut of Andrew Alvarez was chills-inducing. Now, the Nats starting catcher for this game was C.J. Stubbs. The Nats this past Friday afternoon announced having selected the contract of Stubbs from AAA Rochester. The Nats signed Stubbs as a minor league free agent in May 2024. Both Andrew Alvarez and C.J. Stubbs made their MLB regular season debuts in this game. The Nats battery for this game was comprised of 2 guys making their MLB regular season debuts. That is how the Nats snapped this 8-game losing streak. Remarkable. Here was Andrew Alvarez during his post-game session with reporters on Monday afternoon.
Just felt, very at peace, and felt the Lord was with me, and I just felt calm out there. So I was very thankful, and yeah.
What are those emotions and thoughts running through your head? Not just when you're pitching, but the very first time you're running out there.
Yeah, I feel very blessed and thankful, and it's been a long road, and to be able to pitch at home and at Nats Park in front of, the fan base, and you can't really put it into words. It's just a special moment to have my family there, and it was just awesome.
How would you describe the dynamic between yourself and Stubbs and how that was working today?
I mean, it was just, I couldn't have been more happy when Stubbs got called up. He's just such a great guy, such a great teammate, and, I've got the privilege to throw with him in the minors, so just having that connection, and it just made me even more comfortable and calm, and it was awesome. I'm stoked for him, and he caught a heck of a game, and that's his win right there. So it's awesome.
Also for the Nats in this 2-0 win over the Marlins on Monday afternoon was more outstanding relief pitching. The Nats bullpen is surging right now. 4 Nats relievers combined for 4 scoreless innings with 6 swinging strikeouts. Clayton Beeter tossed a perfect top of the 6th with 2 swinging strikeouts. Connor Pilkington tossed a scoreless top of the 7th with 3 swinging strikeouts despite giving up a one-out double. Cole Henry tossed a perfect top of the 8th, and Jose A. Ferrer tossed a scoreless and hitless top of the 9th for the save. Nats relievers in the team getting swept by the Tampa Bay Rays at Nationals Park in 3 games over this past Friday through Sunday combined to allow 1 run in 11 2/3 innings. The negative for the Nats in this 2-0 win over the Marlins on Monday afternoon was the offense. The Nats won despite scoring just 2 runs, totaling just 3 hits, working just 1 walk, and going 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position. The 3 hits were a triple and 2 singles. Dalen Lyle had the triple. He is the Nats starting right fielder and number 5 batter. Went 1 for 2 with an RBI triple, a walk, and a stolen base. Lyle in a Nats 2-run second had an opposite field RBI triple to left center field on an 0-2 pitch for a 1-0 Nats lead. The ball went off the backhanded glove of Marlins center fielder Derek Hill on the left center field warning track. Dalen Lyle for the month of August had an OPS of 771, and his September got off to a nice start. The Nats' other 2 hits on Monday afternoon were by Luis Garcia Jr. He is the Nats starting second baseman and number 4 batter. Went 2 for 3 with 2 singles and a stolen base. James Wood, he is the Nats starting left fielder and number 1 batter. Went 0 for 4 with 3 more strikeouts. The MLB record for most strikeouts by a batter in a regular season is 223 by Mark Reynolds in 2009. Wood for this regular season now has a major league worst 185 strikeouts. He absolutely is within striking distance of that strikeout record of 223. Wood for this regular season is number 1 among all qualified Nats players in OPS at 826, but his OPS as of games through July 3rd was 958. He does continue to struggle. C.J. Abrams, he is the Nats starting shortstop and number 2 batter, went 0 for 3 and committed a throwing error. Abrams for this regular season is number 2 among all qualified Nats players in OPS at 775, but I want to focus for a moment on Abrams' defense. Abrams for this regular season now has 17 errors. Now, errors are not a great way of judging defense, but the advanced defensive stats are not kind to C.J. Abrams. He for this regular season as of games through Sunday, so this is not including Monday afternoon, as of games through Sunday, had -6 defensive runs saved per Sports Info Solutions and had -8 outs above average per StatCast. Abrams is not having a good defensive season. Also, the Nats on Monday morning announced having recalled infielder Nasim Nunez from AAA Rochester. This is each MLB team was allowed to have 28 as opposed to 26 players on its Major League active roster as of September 1st. Game 2 against the Marlins at Nationals Park, Tuesday evening at 6:45. Cade Cavalli will be the Nats starting pitcher. Well, if you're like me, you care about your car, but you're not the biggest fan of having to get work done on your car. This is where Rhoda comes in. Rhoda is a DMV-based auto shop that makes taking care of your car so easy it feels like magic. Rhoda has a team of best-in-the-business technicians who can service any make and model across any maintenance or repairs and detailing. With over 1,000 Google reviews, Best Auto Shop on Yelp, and Nextdoor awards, your neighbors are loving Rhoda, and you will too. Rhoda is tremendous. You could book any car service online in under 3 minutes. Rhoda offers free towing or valet. Rhoda literally will pick up your car and bring it to the shop in Rockville, Maryland, service the car, and return it to you. Over 80% of Rhoda services are done on the same day on which they're booked. Rhoda offers price matching, honest flat pricing, and financing. Rhoda offers free inspections on your car and shares everything found via video and pictures. Drivers approve only what they want to. Visit Rhoda.com, that's RODA.com, and use the promo code GALDI20 for 20% off any service. That's Rhoda.com, promo code GALDI20 for 20% off any service. Hey, if you're like me, you don't exactly have a ton of time to shop for clothes. My wife is the same way, and she has introduced me to Stitch Fix. Stitch Fix is great. You just take a quick style quiz, share your size, your vibe, your budget, and boom, you're matched with a real human stylist who handles the rest. Stitch Fix sends you a fix box with clothes that actually fit and make sense for your life, work, weekends, whatever. Stitch Fix saves you time, you look great, and you don't even have to think about it. And Stitch Fix is no risk, all style. Try Stitch Fix clothes in the comfort of your home. Keep what works, send back the rest. Free shipping and returns always, and no subscription required. Plus, get a free try-on for your first fix. Get started today at StitchFix.com/podcast to get $20 off your first order, and Stitch Fix will waive your styling fee. That's StitchFix.com/podcast. Well, the Orioles on Monday evening won for just the third time in 12 games. A 4-3 win at the San Diego Padres on Labor Day Monday evening in Game 1 of a 3-game series as the O's' Joe Angel were back in the win column.
And the Orioles again in the win column.
Yes, Joe, the win column. The O's in MLB's 2025 regular season now are 62-76. Worst record in the American League East, second worst record in the American League. But good offense for the O's in this game. They scored 4 runs, totaled 11 hits, worked 2 walks, and went 3 for 11 with runners in scoring position. The 11 hits were a home run, 3 doubles, and 7 singles. 2 promising young Orioles did well, talking about Samuel Basallo and Dylan Beavers. So Basallo, he is the Orioles starting DH, and number 7 batter went 2 for 4 with a 2-run double and another double. It was on August 17th that the O's announced having selected the contract of Basallo from AAA Norfolk. He's since then over 50 plate appearances, has an OPS of 650. Dylan Beavers, he is the Orioles starting left fielder and number 5 batter, went 2 for 4 with an RBI single and another single. It was on August 16th that the O's announced having selected the contract of Beavers from AAA Norfolk. He's since then over 57 plate appearances, has an OPS of 918. He has been really good. Also, Jeremiah Jackson, he is the Orioles starting right fielder and number 2 batter, went 3 for 5 with a solo homer and 2 singles. How about this guy? The O's this past November 25th signed Jackson as a minor league free agent. They on July 31st recalled him from AAA Norfolk. He for the O's at the major league level this regular season, 101 plate appearances, OPS of 876. He is doing quite well. Samuel Basallo, Dylan Beavers, and Jeremiah Jackson, they drove in all 4 of the Orioles' runs on Monday evening. Here was Orioles interim manager Tony Manzolino during his postgame session with reporters on Monday night.
Yeah, they knocked in all the runs today, which was pretty cool. Basallo looked good today, swinging the bat. He seems to be really kind of trending in the right direction right now for me. It's not, 4 bats, 4 swings. He's starting to work counts. He's starting to see more pitches. He's gaining confidence. Really excited about him. Obviously, Jay Jackson right there sat on the slider first pitch from, pretty elite arm right there, and went dead central in this ballpark, and that's kind of unusual here. So nice right there. And then you got Beavers, who one of the great relievers in the game. Suarez goes up there. I think it was 2 strikes, and I think it was maybe a changeup, and hits the game-winning hit right there, which is pretty awesome to see.
All right. The Orioles starting pitcher in this 4-3 win at the Padres on Monday evening was Kyle Bradish. He made his second MLB regular season start in his return from Tommy John surgery that he underwent in June 2024. Bradish allowed 2 runs in 4 innings. He gave up 4 hits, all of which were singles. He issued 2 walks. He did record 5 strikeouts, but he over his mere 4 innings threw 84 pitches, 51 strikes, 33 balls. Disappointing outing given how well he did in his return start. The Orioles 5-0 loss to the Boston Red Sox at Oriole Park at Camden Yards last Tuesday evening, August 26th. Bradish in that game allowed 2 runs in 6 innings with 10 strikeouts versus no walks. So here was Tony Mansolino during his post-game session with reporters on Monday night on Kyle Bradish.
I think, and we've seen it with a lot of guys coming back from the surgery that he had, that there's going to be days where, the command isn't quite there. It's usually the last thing to come. You guys asked me earlier today if, I thought this was just going to, we're just going to cruise from here. And, I do think we're going to cruise at times, and I think there's going to be a couple hiccups along the way, and I think that's pretty normal. It's kind of the reason why we've kind of set up the pen with Suarez having some length and Dietrich Enns having some length, just because with these guys coming back, there's going to be days where they don't have their best command, and that's okay.
Yeah, and the Orioles relief pitching in this 4-3 win at the Padres on Monday evening was good. 3 Orioles relievers combined to allow 1 run unearned in 5 innings. Dietrich Enns allowed 1 run unearned in 2 1/3 innings. He had a 1-run fifth for the Padres, committed a throwing error. Rico Garcia tossed 1 2/3 perfect innings, and Keegan Aiken tossed a scoreless bottom of the 9th for the save. Some roster moves by the O's. They on Monday afternoon announced having returned starting pitcher/reliever Albert Suarez from his minor league rehab assignment and having reinstated him from the 60-day injured list. He was on the 15-day injured list from March 30th, retroactive to March 29th to April 7th, and he was on the 60-day injured list from April 7th to September 1st. All of this due to a right shoulder injury. The O's have missed him. He has been a valuable player for them, and the O's on Monday afternoon announced having recalled catcher Maverick Handley from AAA Norfolk, as each MLB team was allowed to have 28 as opposed to 26 players on its major league active roster as of September 1st. Game 2 for the O's at the Padres, Tuesday night at 9:40. Tyler Wells will be the Orioles starting pitcher, and he'll be making his 2025 MLB regular season debut off right elbow UCL surgery that he underwent in June 2024. And that'll do it for you and me for now. Keep the feedback coming. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Wednesday show, episode 1147, will include a lot for you on the Commanders. Also on Wednesday show, I'll talk Nationals and Orioles. The Nats are home to the Miami Marlins Tuesday evening at 6:45 in Game 2 of a 3-game series. The O's are at the San Diego Padres Tuesday night at 9:40 in Game 2 of a 3-game series. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, and I'll talk to you on Wednesday.
I was having chills.
At RxBar, they believe in simple nutrition without the BS. That's why they said no to artificial ingredients and yes to deliver intentional, transparent nutrition. Try their original 12-gram protein bar, the nut butter and oat bar, or minis. RxBar, the proud sponsor of No BS. Use code RxBar on rxbar.com for 25% off. Subject to full terms and conditions and to change. Valid until September 30, 2025, and may not be combined with other offers. See rxbar.com for full details and limitations.